Good evening, and welcome along to Rob and Elliott tonight here on NVTV. We've got a great lineup of guests tonight, including the UK's leading expert on etiquette. William Hanson is going to be with us ahead of this year's Coronation. And talking about the Coronation, Grainne McCloskey from the Eden Project is going to be here telling us all about the big lunch events which you could host in your very own street in the lead up to the Coronation. We'll be shining the spotlight on a local charity in Neurodiversity UK. Kim Kelly will be with us, bringing us the latest news and some info on the Mighty Woman Awards this year. And we'll have some music from Joby Fox and Paul Casey as well, so keep it right here on NVTV. Okay, but starting us off on the show this evening, I'm going to take a look back at some of the more quirky news stories that we found online, in the newspapers, or anywhere else. In fact, Kim Kelly joins us in the studio. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to see you. It's only been a couple of days since we last worked together.
We're always together.
It seems to be. People are going to start talking.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. Let them talk.
We'll tell them more about what we've been up to at the end of the show. But we're going to start by talking about some of the big news stories this week. Starting off with respect in schools. And boys showing respect in schools.
Yes, this is kind of a little political story. Now, it's not very often that we get a little bit political, but Sir Keir Starmer, obviously the leader of the Labour Party, has said that if he gets in the next election, that's the big if, isn't it? He's going to bring forward a plan to teach young boys about consent and respect for women. Now, a lot of people are crying, oh, nanny state and blah, blah. But I am the mother of a teenage son. He is 15 years old. And I was sort of thinking, this is probably a good idea. We live in a world now and it is so difficult. I mean, it really is. I mean, it was okay for us growing up because we only had phones and then, letters, I don't know. But, now there's mobile phones, there's TikTok, there's all this stuff. Our kids are getting messages all over the place. How are they supposed to know how to act? And it would be awful if our children were inadvertently walking into crimes, I guess.
Well, it is crimes now because there's stuff going through government, I know in England at the minute as well, to stop people sending certain photographs to women and stuff, which they shouldn't be doing anyway, but they are trying to make this legal now.
The
that
nude
you cannot
pictures.
send nude picture or a picture of your body to women randomly.
And it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Lest we forget, there are women doing this to men.
Yeah.
People are receiving unsolicited pictures all over the place. And while as adults it might just be a bit of a laugh and whatever, your 15-year-old son, if I ask my 15-year-old boy, how did school go? He goes, well, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
And that's the standard response. He's not going to come in and go, oh, well, mummy, this happened today. That just doesn't happen.
Exactly, yes.
So how is your child meant to know how to react when a girl sends a picture? Now, obviously, common sense at our age would tell us, delete the picture and tell an adult. But they might flick it on to a friend, not realising that this is going to go viral and that then they are committing a crime. They need to be told, they need to be taught about respecting women. Girls need to be taught about respecting themselves and respecting men.
So why are they saying then just for the boys then? Teach them respect.
Probably for the headlines, really, I imagine. I imagine it's for the headlines. He's trying to cut down on this sort of banter. The old banter. But girls are guilty of banter too. And when does banter become bullying? It's all very funny talking about a girl and, oh, she's this and she's that. But they need to hear from victims of this to go, this is not okay. It's not okay to speak to each other like this. It's not okay to be horrible and bully each other and to bully somebody because they're trans, gay, a girl, whatever. So it is interesting. I think it's good that we're doing it in school because, we only know as parents what we know from 30 years ago, whenever we were young. And that's not really relevant these days. And of course, I would consider myself a sort of modern enough parent. And there's a lot of parents out there who don't like talking about sex with their children. It's embarrassing. So let's leave it to the experts in school and, and people like the police who will come in and talk to them and give them the knowledge to equip them to get through the awful teenage years. I mean, you remember what it was like being a teenager. It's so difficult.
It is. This will lead us nicely into the next bit, sort of as well, because with kids doing so much online and texting and using their WhatsApp and all the rest of it, they're not really learning how to interact properly with people
They
the way
aren't.
that we had to do.
No, we had no choice. We were thrown into clubs and stuff whenever we were little, and you had to go, you were forced to walk into a club and you didn't know anybody, you were like, go on, off you go, you know, and we had to go in and just get on with it. Whenever we became adults, we met people in bars. Some people met people through things like the Young Farmers Club or church groups. COVID has really hit all that. It really has. A lot of things like Women's Institute stopped, the church groups stopped. So we have generations of people now who don't know how to meet each other. I know older people, it's very difficult. I mean, if you were, like, say, a widower in your 70s, how do you meet somebody?
Exactly. Well, there is help at hand, I believe, and I'm not sure that I like this, but it's called Rent a Friend.
Yes, the name's not great.
It's not great, and it's getting more popular as well.
Yes.
But the bit that I can't get my head around is that people are actually charging to be your friend on some of these sites as well.
Yes, there is that aspect of it. It'd be a little bit like an escort, but with no funny business.
Yes.
So say you wanted to go out for dinner, you could ring up Rent a Friend. It's an awful name, please change that name. And somebody would be sent round to you who's been vetted. And hopefully, and they come round and take you out for dinner, and that's the end of it. And then there are sort of meetings, you know, like sort of they will have socials, maybe in a pub or something, where a lot of singles will get together. It's a nice idea. I would hate to think that it's going to be hijacked by undesirables.
But all those sites end up as like the dating sites. They're no longer dating sites, they're hookup sites now, aren't they?
Well, this is what I hear, and from my past being on dating sites, goodness me, it's a war zone out there, isn't it?
Did you have any bad experiences on dating sites?
I had 100 bad experiences, and for anybody watching this who's been on dating sites, I don't need to tell you what it's like. It's a war zone. There is no other word for it.
Are you getting the dodgy photographs sent to you and things as well?
No, quite often they just have their ordinary photograph, but the things they say to you is so inappropriate. You're like, what is wrong with you? Maybe they should have gone to those lessons about respect in school.
Exactly, yes.
They don't respect themselves. They're just horrendous. You know, they don't want to pay 1p to, you know, take you out for a cup of coffee. It's just, they want to come round to your house and, you know, and you're like, no, it's not, no, somebody no. Yes, it's a strange world out there, but yes, it's very hard to make friends. And I do really feel loneliness is a terrible, terrible thing. It really is.
I know there are people watching this now of a certain age who are at home and maybe they've lost their partner and they are lonely and they can't get out to find friends or, you know.
I mean, I guess the way forward for that is join a choir, a church. Church groups are pretty good at that kind of thing, but yes, it can be tough, you know, like a walking group, a reading group, a gym group. Any of those things can help. I'd probably go there before I went to Rent a Friend.
Definitely.
Rent a Friend would probably work better if you lived in London, like all these things do.
Well, exactly, yes.
There's more people.
And there's more people, there's more exciting venues to go to in London. You can go to a nice pop-up restaurant or whatever.
Yes.
Here, where do you really, where would you really go for a date?
I know,
really? You know, it's,
because we live here, unfortunately, and fortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go. Moving on to our final topic, and later on in the show, I've got William Hanson coming on. Well, after William's been on later, I bet you will never extend your little pinky finger again when drinking.
Is it awful? Is it nouveau?
We'll just have to wait.
Right,
and
I need to watch
out.
this.
Okay?
I need to report
Etiquette
back.
expert William Hanson coming up on the show a little bit later on. In the meantime, Kim, you're coming back later.
Good.
We're going to talk Mighty Women later.
Yes, let's talk about Mighty
Women.
Women.
That. Fabulous stuff. But in the meantime, what are we going to do? We're going to have some music. Let's do the new single from Paul Casey. He's got a Stephen King inspired music video, and this is called Because I Love You. Okay, time now to take a look at some new research which has been carried out by Costa. It reveals the way some of us think about our royal etiquette rules when it comes to food and drink. And although many of us are pretty happy with the way things are, one person is not. He's the leading expert on etiquette. It's William Hanson, who joins us now on the line. William, how are you today?
I'm very well, Robin. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk about the latest research then. It's something you're not happy about.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not shocked, really, if I'm honest, Robin. You only have to sort of be as highly strung as I am and sort of sit in a restaurant or a cafe and look at how other people are eating to realise that maybe etiquette is not what it once was, as it were, perhaps in 1953 when we had the last coronation, for example. We've had a huge shift. But in everybody's defence, I think that is also because how we eat as a nation and as a world has changed. We have so many different cuisines, we have so many different opportunities to eat, and we're very fortunate in that. And actually, thus, maybe we're just in that sort of zone where we're just finding our feet with how to eat these new cuisines and in these new ways. A bit like when the mobile phone came in on the train and everyone shouted down it because they really weren't sure how to use it. Whereas now we've kind of, as a society, finessed that out.
So we've discovered things like less than half of us hold cutlery in the right hand.
Yes, no, I know, which is quite staggering, and the research by Costa Coffee ahead of the launch of their new Coronation chicken toasty has shown that over 75% of people don't quite know how to put their cutlery together on the plate to show that they've finished, as a sort of a non-verbal signal to clear my plate.
So what about an event like the Coronation then? If you're invited to a big fancy event, what's the most important dining etiquette rules that you should follow then?
Well, really, wait until everyone is served around you, depending on the style of dining. If it's sort of banqueting style, like it would be at a wedding maybe, where you're on lots of different tables, you don't need to wait for the entire room to have their beef in front of them or whatever they're eating. It's just on your table. And once everyone on your table has it, then you can start. Because the key thing to remember, and actually this is the same anywhere in the world, is that dining is a communal experience. You are coming together to eat. It's a wonderful unifying thing. And so you don't just start eating the moment your food goes down in front of you. You wait for everyone around you to have their food.
Now, what about drinking tea or coffee? Is there a proper way to do that?
Well, may I ask you, Rob, I hope this isn't a personal question, but when you're drinking from a teacup, do you extend your little finger or do you keep it tucked in?
No, I actually keep it tucked in, but I've noticed a lot of ladies, when they're drinking, tend to extend their little pinky.
Yes, well, this is unfortunate because when you look at the history on that, it sort of goes back to France in Louis XIV and XV's time, when extending the little finger was considered a signal to show other members of the French aristocracy before they had the revolution that you had and I'm going to sanitize this for you, a sexually transmitted disease. And tea was very expensive at the time. It was imported. Only the royal family and aristocracy could afford it. And as we may know from our French history, there was quite a lot of getting to know one another on an intimate level of an evening, and they were fairly indiscriminate with who they got to know. And so there was a lot of sexually transmitted disease. And so the etiquette that was developed was that if you were drinking tea and you were sort of flirting with someone across the hall, you would sort of make eye contact with them. And if you extended your little finger, you were giving a non-verbal signal that really only the two of you would see to let the other person know that you had that STD. And if they extended their finger back, fantastic, off we went. You can't get it twice. But if you didn't wish to, you just sort of nodded politely and moved on, then you had the staff of the houses sort of think, oh gosh, it must be so posh to stick your finger out. It must be the thing to do because it's what all the aristocracy are doing. But they didn't actually realise that it wasn't really anything to do with class. It was to do with syphilis.
Wow, okay, I never knew that.
Well, there we go. So I'm sorry to those ladies that you saw with their little fingers out. I'd get the Dettol out and just wipe down their seat.
Now, I was in a restaurant the other day and we were presented with these lovely linen napkins, something that I haven't seen in a very long time. So I suppose linen napkins, that's the way to go, not the old paper ones.
A paper napkin is better than nothing. You go to some people's houses, you go to certain restaurants, there's nothing. And it's irritating, particularly if you are eating things like toasties or chicken goujons with your hands, for example. They're going to get greasy. You need something to do with the grease. And when you go to someone's house, if they don't give you a napkin, I'm always half tempted just to wipe it on their sofa, because they've only got themselves to blame. Even a piece of kitchen roll is better than nothing.
Now, what about the royals themselves? Do you think they ever break the rules? Do you think they order in a takeaway on a Saturday night and have a munch at it while watching the TV?
Yeah, I am sure some takeaways have been delivered to Kensington Palace, to Buckingham Palace over the years. Maybe not as frequently as they might be to yours or my houses. I don't know, but. Yeah, I'm sure they relax at points, but you can still relax and still be polite and nice to one another. Relaxing doesn't go hand in hand with sort of forgetting all grace.
Well, if people want some more information, is there an etiquette rule book they can check out?
Oh, well, I mean, there are thousands of etiquette rule books, some of which are behind me today as we speak. But you can head to my Instagram, for example. I pop tips on there, or just go into your local Costa coffee and have the Coronation chicken toasty, but eat it nicely, please.
Exactly. And how will you be spending the Coronation weekend then?
Well, I live in London, and so I'm lucky enough to be able to sort of get in to the heart of the action and soak it all up. And I'll be doing a bit of work, but I'll just sort of watch things go by. And if I get just a glint of a crown go past, if I can just see one little sparkle of Queen Camilla or even the King, I'll be very happy.
William, great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Lovely. Thank you so much indeed, Robin.
Okay, we continue our theme with the Coronation, and we're going to find out about some big lunch events taking part throughout the whole of Northern Ireland. The Eden Project are encouraging you to take part as well. We'll find out more because Grainne McCloskey joins us in the studio. How are you?
Hiya, not too bad.
Busy time of year for you.
It is. Good fun.
So tell us what's happening. Street parties all over Northern Ireland then?
Well, that's the plan. So the big lunch has been running since 2009, and Queen Camilla is our patron and has been since 2013 after the Diamond Jubilee, when we were an official part of that. So we were part of the Platinum Jubilee last year, and now the Coronation big lunch is the big thing for 2023.
Exactly. So you want everybody to get involved and hold some kind of party. And I know there's lots of street parties being organised, isn't there?
Yeah, so it's really exciting times. We were actually out this last couple of weeks running a roadshow to help people, because it's not just community groups. Sometimes people think, oh, you have to be a group or you have to be a charity or something to organise something here. But actually it's about families and neighbours coming together. The whole point of the Coronation Big Lunch is about people coming together. That's
so
what the big lunch is all about. So
somebody watching this now who's got a little street of like 5 or 6 houses, they can just have a party.
Yeah, I mean, just, grab a couple of chairs and something to share and sit in the garden. It's kind of bring us back to what we were doing during COVID, except we're allowed to come together now, let's embrace that. We're very much about building community spirit and helping people make connections, because it's actually got an environmental benefit. People will know Eden Project as a social enterprise and an educational environmental charity, and so they're kind of like, well, why are you doing street parties, But for us, it's more about how you engage other people, how you bring people in, and how people can collectively do things. And if you're sitting down together with a bit of food, you're more likely to find out something that, from somebody else, learn something, whether that is actually how to recycle, or, swap a uniform, or, borrow a lawnmower. And those, particularly during this current time, cost of living's affecting everybody.
Yeah.
Like the price of bread now, crazy. So parties are more expensive, and people are saying, why are you encouraging people to do parties? They can't afford electric. But actually, when you bring people together and, you can do things on a really low budget, using what you've got, then you have those connections that are useful, and you find out things about what's available, and, if something breaks, you can borrow.
Yeah.
And kind of go back to those old-fashioned ways of being.
And it goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the show when Kim was on. We were talking about people being isolated, people feeling lonely in areas as well, maybe don't have any family around them. This is a good way to support those people and get them out into your community as well, isn't it?
100%. I mean, the whole point in the big lunch is it happens on your doorstep. So, we invest a lot of time and energy in encouraging people to come out to things. And actually, those who are feeling most lonely or maybe most isolated may feel the barriers to doing things like that, and so you tend to get friendly people going to those things. And the good thing about the big lunch is it kind of craftily brings people just outside their door, and then that gives them that little bit of comfort of meeting someone and having that encouragement to go on and do more. And that's kind of why National Lottery funds the big lunch, and has been, they've been funding us for a number of years now. And we're very, very proud of our relationship there, because we've been able to support communities and neighbourhoods to go on to do more where they live, and National Lottery have kindly funded some of that, and that has meant then that those communities have grown and people have become more connected, and it has reduced loneliness, but it's also reduced things like numbers of 999 calls, because you've got somebody to come in and help and support you. And there's lots of evidence around how when you have a disconnected community, it costs more to the public sector. So there's a lot of other benefits that you don't see behind the cupcakes and the bunting. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why Queen Camilla has actually been a patron for a while, because her views around reducing that loneliness and getting people to be more community spirited at a local level.
So as we said, there's lots going on. There's something big happening in Fermanagh, isn't there?
Yeah, so Salmon would not be happy if I didn't give him a wee mention, because he's been really supportive of the wider network and encouraging other people to take part as well. We would have a few champions in different places, because the big lunch is more than the Coronation as well. It's about communities across Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK, and in fact the whole world now. We've got people doing things in Cuba.
Wow.
But in Fermanagh, on Monday the 8th, they're having a big help out and big lunch combo day, and it's all about fundraising for the RNLI and encouraging people to take and do more volunteering where they live.
Brilliant. Well, if people want to get involved, they can click onto your website and get some resource help, can't they?
They can then pick whether they want to do a Coronation big lunch or whether they'd like to do one of our annual big lunches, because we have a whole month of community in June. So you might want to celebrate your local volunteers or do something to reduce loneliness, or even just fundraise for your local football club. So you go to thebiglunch.com and then you pick your pack. And if you want to do a Coronation big lunch, there's still loads of time. As I said, it's just a chair, something to share. And there's actually a letter there from the King and Queen.
Wow.
So they can download that letter, and it's a nice memento, I think, a little piece of history as well.
Best of luck with all of the lunches for the Coronation and the stuff happening in June as well. Ainsley Harriott is also encouraging people to get out and do something, isn't he?
Yeah, Ainsley's been a really strong supporter of the big lunch for a number of years. He's got some great recipes on the website as well, but he's been out and about encouraging people to get going at the street level.
Brilliant. Well, we'll have a look at this. Here is the legend himself, Ainsley Harriott.
The Coronation big lunch. Oh, how exciting it's going to be for everybody. It's about being able to knock on your neighbour's door and just sort of say, hey, we're having a little get-together. Do you fancy coming out?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing?
If you want to find out more, go to coronationbiglunch.com, and there's everything you need there, from invitations you can print out, ideas to get you started, recipes and everything. We've been working with the National Lottery for many years, and they make all of this possible for us, so they give us the means to invite everybody to come to the table.
Hello, my lovely. How are you? Fantastic.
This is George.
Hello, George. How are you? Hey, George, are you going to be... Yes, you're going to come to the party?
It gets the community involved, it gets the family involved, and the results are, well, it's just so rewarding.
Hey, so come on, have a wee bit of fun with your neighbours at the big lunch.
Now let's talk theatre, and a new play about the life of politician David Irvine is on its way to the Lyric Theatre here in Belfast. It's called The Man Who Swallowed a Dictionary, and the press launch took place last week at the Dark Horse in Belfast, and I went along with the cameras. We met director Matthew McElhenney, we met David Irvine's brother, and we met producer Martin Lynch as well, and Paul Garrett, the man who's playing the main role. Here's what happened. First thing that strikes you about this show is the title, The Man Who Swallowed a Dictionary. That's a genius title for a play, isn't it?
The very first thing that caught my attention when the lad Bobby Niblock, who's a contemporary of David's and was in jail with him, sent me the play, and I thought, what a brilliant title, to start with. But it is indicative of when I remember David Irvine coming on TV and using words I'm not a very educated person, but I didn't know them or hear of them before, and I thought he knows a lot of good words. But apart from the title, the story is just too strong to give up or to pass over. David Irving has probably been the best spokesperson for the Protestant working class in 50 years. And people still today, actually in both communities, lament that he had died, and they say that he would have been great, if he was still around. So that story and that representation of the Protestant working class through the Troubles is very prominent in the play.
So playing a character like David Irvine, somebody who's been so famous, there must be a lot of pressure on you to get it right then.
Yeah, frankly, there's no denying that. I haven't had a squeaky bum moment just yet. I'm sure that will happen.
Yeah.
That said, nobody's forcing me to do this. It's a choice. I've been an actor for a long time. Jobs like this come along sort of once in a blue moon, and you go, "Wow, this is great." But yeah, no, we're excited about the team are behind me. Not even the team are behind me. The majority of people that I have spoken to about Davy's influence, he meant so much to people.
Exactly.
I think obviously with the 25th year of the agreement and stuff, there's a lot of stuff in the press and the news about that. Our journey with this is a very emotional one.
Yeah.
The research we've done has been immersive from an acting point of view. It's been very, very immersive. But the stuff that I found out about Davy and his personal life, we went to the Raven Club and met, some of his friends, people he worked with, guys he had a pint with, his colleagues.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to know was the Davy that we see on camera, or was he a different guy? As we all are to a greater or lesser degree. And different facets to his life, and he was very funny and just didn't take himself too seriously, But when you literally look back in history, the history of this place, this weird little sort of enclave that we live in, Northern Ireland, which is great. He kind of just was miles ahead of everybody else. He wasn't the only kind of person speaking for the Progressive Unionist Party. Obviously, Hugh Smith and Hutchie and before that sort of Gusty Spence and all these people. But the through line for it all was, for working class Protestant people to trying to get better education, better housing, all that stuff. But Davy's agenda, if that's the right word, was for everybody.
Yes.
A big thing for him was to sit down with the Shinners, sit down with SDLP, sit down with whoever.
Yes.
And the amount of time he was up and down to Dublin, like a fiddler's elbow. Exactly. Speaking to people. Yeah. So that was good and very brave. One of the things that we found out as well, and it maybe sounds silly and something obvious that people in the public don't think about, got a lot of death threats, Robin.
Exactly. Yes.
You put yourself up there, you put yourself in the public domain, and he sticks his head above the parapet for everybody. And some of the people on his own side, I suppose, in his own kind of loyalist background, they weren't too happy about that, And he was a family man, he was a father, he was a grandfather, he was a Glen Torn supporter, So think of that what you will. But it's a joy for me. The job at hand now is to get it right, get it on the stage, do Davy justice, to circle right back to what you were sent to, feel the pressure of it a bit.
So will we discover anything about David Irvine that we didn't already know?
Well, I did in the researching of it and in the development of it. I think things will certainly be discovered about him that people didn't know about the peace process, that they didn't know about the deals, about the hard work, and also about his personal life. It's been a total eye-opener to me, the whole experience.
So if David was still around today and he was looking at his own working class community, what do you think he would make of it, what's happening today?
I think he would appreciate that there are struggles, that what he said in the end wasn't unanimously accepted by his own, but I think he would understand that there's always a journey to go, and he'd be rooting them on because he was an East Belfast boy born and bred, and he loved his community, and I think that was one of the main things that motivated him.
Can you tell us a little about the relationship that you had with your father? What was that like?
I had a good relationship with my father in the later years. The earlier years, nah. When he got out of jail and stuff like that, me and him didn't really see eye to eye. It was hard for me to adjust. It was hard for him to adjust. And it was difficult for both of us, which led to a difficult few years. But in my later years, where I grew to understand my fella a wee bit more, and he grew to understand me a wee bit more, it was good. We had a good relationship then.
And what about the time when he was in jail? That must have been a tough time for your family.
It was tough for, I think, my mother. I got a day off school, like once a week, so it was brilliant for me.
Throughout your dad's political career as well, did you realise how much of an influential person he was to Northern Ireland, or was he just your dad?
Well, for all of it, he was just my dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'd have seen him outside what normal people, well, beyond the television and beyond the radio or whatever, I'd have seen him beyond that. I knew him as a person.
Yeah.
And he was always that person to me. So that's the way it was for me, do you know what I mean? I never seen him as a personality or a... He was just my dad.
Okay, so obviously we've got the play coming up really shortly. How do you think you're going to feel watching it in the opening night?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to watch it first to see what it's like. Number one, I would see, is it a good play? Has it been well written? And does it reflect David and his personality and his life? Yeah. So, yes, I would hope. But I know the guy, the playwright, and I believe he'll do a very good job.
Obviously, we knew David for what we saw on TV. David the politician. You knew him best. What was he like as a brother?
He was always sort of getting me into trouble because he was, when he was a kid, very, very small. He was a toddler. And a lot of kids in the backyard, and we lived in a 2-up, 2-down house, and we had a tin bath, and my sister had clothes steeping in the bath. There was boiling water, and Dave backed into it, and I pulled him out of it, and he was scarred from the nape of his neck to his backside. So I was always pulling him out of hot water after that. So he was always a cheeky gat when he was growing up. He had fought Goliath. The only point is, it was Goliath, he was 2 heads higher than him, and I had to go and rescue him, so a lot of it. And then he came of age when he was able to handle himself, you know. Yeah.
And what were your thoughts when he entered the world of politics then?
Well, I advised him to, because he had been involved in paramilitarism and stuff, you know, because he joined the paramilitaries after the Bloody Friday. And and he was involved, and so I recommended that he go into politics, yeah, because he had something to say. And I think also that Gusty Spence made him think while he was in Longcash, why are you here? Yeah. Well, I'm here because... No, he says, why are you here? Yeah. What are you doing here? Yeah. Think. So he made him think. And so he had a very good influence and positive influence on his life, and in many lives, as a matter of fact. He made him think, and then he began to think politically. And he found out he had a very good political brain. Excellent political brain, as a matter of fact.
The Green Shoot Commission is to articulate the working class voice, wherever it comes from. But the great thing about the play is it deals with not just David's political activities, but his personal life, and at least one major tragedy in his own personal life that the public just don't know about.
There are going to be big surprises in the show.
There will be big surprises all along about his personal life. I mean, this is a boy who grew up in a Labour household. His father was a Labour supporter. Working class East Belfast, Chamberlain Street. Left school at 15. Joined the UVF when he was 19. Did 5 years in prison. And then came out a changed man. Came out with the slogan, we need to share this community. We need to have a shared responsibility. And that became his mantra all the way through. And then following that right through to his electoral successes, and his great single biggest achievement was bringing the Protestant working class to the Good Friday Agreement. I mean, if he's not remembered for anything, he should be remembered for that, besides having swallowed a dictionary.
Okay, let's do our What's On guide now, where we take a look and see what's happening throughout Belfast and beyond over the next week or so. We're starting off with the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival, and guitar maestro David Brown Murray was with us live in the studio last week, and he's got his Square One album launch at the American Bar this Sunday, the 30th of April. And if you fancy a good laugh, Janie Godley is on her way back to Belfast. Always good to see Janie, and this time she's here with her Not Dead Yet tour, and that show comes to the Festival Marquee on Custom House Square on Tuesday the 2nd of May. Now, Steve Harley is back with an acoustic show, 50 Years as a Rebel, live on stage. He's been widely considered as one of the most charismatic performers on stage, and Steve Harley continues to play sold-out venues across the UK and Europe. And with the recent release of his all-acoustic CD, Uncovered, the original Cockney Rebel shows no signs of slowing down. And you can catch Steve at the Festival Marquee on Wednesday the 3rd of May. Now, how do you fancy spending an evening with the Ulster Orchestra and Neil Hannon of the Divine Comedy? They're coming to the Ulster Hall on the 5th of May for a world premiere of some new work entitled As the Sun Brightens, the Shadow Deepens. And this is a very special performance that's been commissioned by the Ulster Orchestra. Now, the Festival of Fools is the largest festival of a free-to-access circus and outdoor performance on the island of Ireland, with over 70 performances taking place in the city centre over one weekend. And there's going to be artists from all across the world. Check out the programme on foolsfestival.com, and this year's Festival of Fools runs from the 29th of April until the 4th of May. Now, if you're a musical theatre fan, get yourself along to see the Bardic Theatre's production of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice's rock opera Evita. That opens in the Bardic Theatre at Donegal on Friday the 5th of May and runs right through until the 20th of May. And here's a clip.
Over the death of an actress called Eva.
And finally for now, our good friend, singer-songwriter Joby Fox is back in Belfast as part of the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. He's going to be at the Sunflower Bar on the 6th of May. And here's Joby with one of the songs from his brand new album. This is called No Home.
Just as the wind and I blew town, and the rain and the hail came tumbling down. No magic in the meadows there. Now I've lost my home and I won't return. No home to go. Just pale face and the pain inside. My stomach hurts, my wings cry. From the place that I had called my own, cast out on the road, just skin and bone. No home to go. No home to go. I curse the English profiteers that ground us down throughout the years.
And of course, you can catch our good friend Joby Fox at the Sunflower Bar here in Belfast on the 6th of May as part of the Cathedral Quarter Arts Festival. Right, Kim Kelly is back with us, and
Hello,
you will not
again.
be extending the little pinky?
No, I think I'll just keep that tucked in.
What was the one you were telling me about the bread rolls as well?
Yes, we were talking about things there that we were taught whenever we were growing up. Now, I had a granny. She was kind of much older granny than most people's. I think she had my dad whenever she was in her 50s, so
Right,
she was
yeah.
very old. And yes, she taught us all about table manners. And she always told us that you should never cut a bread roll with a knife, but you should break it with your hands, because if you cut it with a knife, your host would think you thought their bread was stale.
Right. Okay.
So there you go. There you go,
we
people.
go.
And a burger eaten with a knife and fork.
Definitely, yes. Otherwise, it ends up all over you.
What else did you teach me about soup? Yes, whenever you're eating soup and it comes to the end bits, you push the bowl towards you and then you put the spoon away from you. Apart from if it's tomato soup or like a brown soup and that's pushed away from you.
So you don't lift the bowl on.
And then you lick it. you just have it out of the can. My grandmother would turn her grave.
Indeed, we've got to talk about Mighty Women.
Yes, we
because we were at a fabulous event
were.
last weekend at the Culloden Hotel, the first of the Mighty Women
Yes.
brunch events. Fabulous day, wasn't it?
Didn't we have a wonderful time? It was a great collection of mighty women. Everybody was there. There were so many people. It was so inclusive. Everybody got up on stage and said their bit. What I like about Mighty Women is that anybody everybody is welcome. Everybody who's got a story to tell. A lot of people, whenever you're joining groups, you think, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too old, I'm gay, I'm white, I'm black. You know, anybody can be a mighty woman. If you want to come along, you come along, and we include everybody.
Indeed. Okay, let's see what happens at the Culloden Hotel. Stevie, roll the VT. Fabulous shot off the fountain, some fabulous panning work from our camera guys there as well. Welcome to the Culloden Hotel for a very special event today. This is the first ever Mighty Woman brunch event. There's going to be lots happening inside. We've got awards, we've got dancers, we've got special guests, we've got lots happening. Let's go and take a look. Please put your hands together and welcome the Excel Dance Company! So Karen, welcome to the Mighty Woman Brunch Awards today. Are you looking forward to it?
Robin, it's always a pleasure to come to an event like this. The ladies put on such a good show, and more importantly, they award women in business in Northern Ireland. So I'm really looking forward to a great event today.
So you're one of the sponsors today, aren't you?
That's right. I've always been a keen supporter of this event. I was at their last event at Christmas. It's really good to profile women in business. It's really important to make sure that they are recognised for the work that they do. And most importantly, my evidence is showing that people who have a diverse board or a diverse workforce actually are more profitable and better for business. So it's a win-win situation for all of us.
Tell me about your business then.
I run a consulting engineering business here in Belfast. Some of the projects that I've worked on are the refurbishment of the King's Hall at the minute. Also was responsible for a lot of the planning work for the IKEA store just down the road from where we are today. And I've been involved in lots of buildings from Forestside to Foyleside over the last 30 years here in Belfast.
And are we seeing more women getting involved in engineering and stuff like that these days?
When I graduated from Queen's University, there was a class of 97. There were 3 ladies on that class. Now in my professional institution, over the last number of years, we've seen an increase in the number of ladies applying to join the institution, which was traditionally a male-dominated engineering industry. Latest figures that I received this week is we've changed from 10% to 17% ladies in the membership, and that's growing year on year, so we must be doing something right.
Thank you so much for supporting us, and thank you, Robin, for coming along and supporting me.
Thank you, darling. We're going to do it all over again very soon.
We are. We're doing it all over again in the Sleeve Donard, and then we're doing it in the Roe Park. It's just Mighty Woman on tour. Come and join us.
Okay, so welcome to the Mighty Woman brunch event today. What brings you here today then?
Well, my name's Mark Smith. I run a hair loss company called Dot Micro, which specialises in a treatment called scalp micropigmentation. So it's a relatively new treatment to a lot of people here in the country. and I'm just trying to bring that to the men and women of the country and help their self-esteem and their confidence to be regained through the treatment.
Okay, so what about an event like this today? How important in the business community are these events?
Well, obviously they're essential because they bring everyone together to network, make new connections, make friends, and without them, no one would be sort of aware of what's going on in these different types of industries. So it's bringing me that maybe a lot of people here don't know who I am or what I do, so it's essential for me to be here.
Okay, well, if people want to find out some more info about your business, where do they go to for that?
So obviously they can find us on our website, they can find an Instagram page, we're on Facebook, and we're trying to be in the media as much as we can as well with our great treatments. Usually we get a lot of happy customers and they're quite willing to talk about their experience. So hopefully you'll see us over the next while.
Maybe you're a woman that is sitting there right now thinking, I would love to be able to sing. Well, you can. I would love to be able to do some art. Well, you can. I'd love to be able to take some time off, just to allow a little bit of me time. The only person that's stopping you is you. We have to keep going. But we can take those breaks, and we can take that time for ourselves. You deserve it. We deserve it. We are almighty women.
So here we are, a fabulous event this afternoon. Are you looking forward to it?
I cannot wait. It's so exciting to see so many ladies and being able to be out and about again.
And it's great that these events are doing so much for promoting women and women in business as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's really, really important, especially local businesses, because we want to champion local businesses, and I think that's really important. This is our first event at one of these events, so we're really, really exciting. There's such a good vibe inside, and we're just really looking forward to seeing everybody today.
Tell me about your business. You've got some product there in your hand.
I do indeed. So this is a family business. We're based in Carryduff. We supply salons with skincare, professional skincare, and we are all about that multifunctional approach. So ditching the 15-step routines, ditching spending an absolute fortune on skincare, and really bringing that multifunctional approach to skincare, which is safe and much kinder to the skin as well.
People want to have a look at your products. Is there a website they can click onto?
There is www.skination.com, and we have the stand inside today, so we're really excited to meet people.
Brilliant. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say to you right now, let's say it. Let's say it together. I am a mighty woman. I am a mighty woman.
So there we go, some of the highlights from the Culloden Hotel. There is going to be another Mighty Woman brunch on the way soon.
There is. We're going down to the Slieve Donard. We're going on tour. Mighty Woman on tour. We're going down to the Slieve Donard in June. You can find out about that on mightywomannni.co.uk. Our social media is also Mighty Woman NI. So come along and join us.
Exactly. Now we're going to shine the spotlight on a fabulous local charity now that's based in Cumber, the Neurodiversity UK charity. We're doing this because the overall winner on Sunday of the Big Achievement Award was a lovely lady called Ruth McGee.
Oh, Ruth, what a sweetheart. Ruth is just the salt of the earth. We went along and we met her, and she's just an ordinary woman. She went to school, and as a little girl, she was told she was stupid. Everybody was like, oh, she's stupid. So she was just sort of left in school the way it was back then. Look, we know things are different now, but back then she was just stupid, thick, and sat in the back, and she was a pleasant enough child. She was just ignored, I guess. So she found solace through horses and things like that, and she left school with no qualifications, never thinking she was going to make much of herself. As time went on, it wasn't until she was in her 30s that she was diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, and other things. And then she finally understood, this is what's wrong with me. So instead of feeling sorry for herself, she started to help other people because she was an expert in what we now call neurodiversity. back then it was just called, I don't know, being stupid or just not fitting in. So she set up a charity to help other parents because she was having problems with her own son. And the first meeting, I think, was 2 or 3 people. And since then, they have helped hundreds, if not thousands of people to find their place and to know they're not on their own. So now that little girl who was told she was stupid and wouldn't amount to anything is the CEO of a charity, and well done to her.
Indeed. So we went along to meet Ruth and everybody else involved in the charity down in Cumber and Neurodiversity UK. Here's what happened.
First of all, Ruth, how did you get involved with Neurodiversity UK?
Well, I got involved with Neurodiversity because I had my son, and at 3 years old he was displaying a lot of problems in terms of speech, movement and not looking at anybody, which was very out of the ordinary for me. And then I got very, very worried. So when he started nursery, again, was displaying a lot more problems, and I had to ask the teacher, look, I need some help. I feel that there's something wrong with my son here and I don't know what's going on. And she referred me to the doctor.
So tell me a little bit more about your school days. They don't sound like they were very happy.
When I started to go to school, round about primary school, round about 3 or 4, I noticed a lot of problems when I couldn't do homeworks. Struggled to asked my parents, could they help me with the homework? Going back in those days, my daddy was the main breadwinner, so he was always out working. And my mum had learning difficulties, so she couldn't help me do homework. So I had to go into school and ask them, and they were just like, no, you can't do it, you can't do it. It was left to the back of the room.
And how did that make you feel?
Odd, weird, not being wanted, being stupid. So that developed into a personality problem, where I didn't want to ask people for help anymore, or was just left and just, well, I'm not good enough for anything, really, and just had to try and manage.
So you were able to use your experiences to help your child. So what's the first thing that you did?
So with setting up the support group and the charity, I decided that I would have the courage to go and get myself diagnosed. So the waiting list for the NHS here in Northern Ireland is horrendous. It's about 3 to 4 or 5 years of waiting. So I just took myself off privately down to Dublin and got myself diagnosed with Dr. Fitzgerald, who's an over 80-year-old consultant who specialises in that. So I was quite happy with that because he's lived the life and the journey of that. So he actually would have been an experienced person for me to get diagnosed, so I got it done privately.
So you were diagnosed with ADHD at the relatively late age of 45. How did that diagnosis make you feel?
It made me feel more confident and understand mentally that I'm not stupid, that I can do lots of things that everybody else can do in my own way.
I'm here with Kirsty Hull, the Wellbeing Support Officer at Neurodiversity UK. Kirsty's been using some of her own experiences to help other people. Kirsty, how did you first get involved with Neurodiversity UK?
Well, when my son was diagnosed with ADHD, it took me a while to actually build up the nerve to come in to the charity, and I came in and actually spoke to Ruth, and it was a very overwhelming experience because this was someone who totally understood what I was going through as a parent and how it was for my child. So when I left here after speaking to Ruth, I was upset, but it was a good emotion because I had found someone that understood. So then I started coming to the drop-in service that was being offered in the charity and meeting other mums that were going through similar experiences that I was. And then that grew into me wanting to repay what I had been given by the charity. So I started volunteering in the charity shop and then progressed on to being the Wellbeing Support Officer. So now I get to help other mums and families that were in the position I was and can help them through their journey.
And how has coming along and using the services here at Neurodiversity UK helped your son, Zach?
It's helped him a lot because he's made friends with other people that are like him. He comes in and he helps with donations. He would call in and just say hi to all the volunteers because they all know him and he likes them. And he gets to come to, he would struggle a lot with social settings where schools would have school discos, but that's something SAC can't do. It's too loud, it's too noisy. But here, whenever they have like a Christmas party, it's a smaller group, it's more controlled, so he can come and partake and feel like he's being part of something without being overwhelmed and trying to hide away from everyone.
And what kind of help is offered here at Neurodiversity UK for children and their families?
So we have loads to offer. Obviously there's a charity shop downstairs which runs the whole building. We rely on that and donations to keep the building open and keep it warm. We have the employability programme, so young adults who are maybe struggling to get a job or whatever, they can come here and get that experience. Then they can stay as long as they need to be able to then go out into the real world and get some job. We have the Wellbeing Hub, so we have 3 therapists that come in once a month. 2 of them offer massages, reflexology, lymphatic drainage, all that stuff, and then there's a beauty therapist that comes in and does gel nails and waxing. There's also the mental health fitness class and yoga class that they run alongside each other every other Tuesday. We offer the Duke of Ed, so people in upper 6th or whatever are doing the Duke of Ed, they can come and do their charitable section for that here, and also work with special needs schools to offer them their work experience and help them learn essential life skills.
So Leslie, at Neurodiversity UK there is also a boxing club. Tell us about that.
The boxing club opened about 9 years ago. We take children in from 6 right up to, there's no age limit of who can come. It's great for the children's motor skills, the social skills. They get great discipline from it as well. And it's just a fab form of exercise.
So there we go. What a worthwhile charity, and what a woman
wonderful.
Ruth McGee is.
What a wonderful charity. And if there's anybody watching this who has children who they think might be neurodiverse, just get in touch. You'll find them on Facebook, Neurodiversity UK. You will be given a warm welcome.
Fabulous. That's all we have time for on the show this week. So thank you for joining us. I know. Time just flies, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you to all my guests as well. Thank you as well for watching at home. And we'll see you back here same time next week. Bye-bye.